my background's from Iraq, so I already know Julian Assange. I just want to say...
do you want to say it on camera?
Yeah, sure, why not? I was saying, what do you guys think about, should Iraq, the government of Iraq, have a role in the free Julian Assange? Because it is Iraq's duty to tell the American government of their crimes, right?
The Iraq government kicked out the Americans as a result of something that Julian Assange published on WikiLeaks. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Julian Assange actually ended the American occupation of Iraq.
Really? Maybe the Iraqi people should actually protest for his
Well,
release.
I think there are Iraqi people that are very strong. You're one of them. You support him, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Julian Assange is responsible for getting rid of the Americans out of Iraq.
Yep.
The Americans raided a house of a suspected insurgent, but it wasn't an insurgent. It was just some guy and his extended family. And they ended up murdering the whole extended family.
Free Assange. You know, when who's Julian Assange?
They leaked a bunch of shit about the American government. Signed the petition online. They leaked a bunch of like stuff that the Americans did in Iraq, right?
He published it.
Yeah. Isn't he in like the Ecuadorian embassy?
Yes, and then he got dragged out 3 years ago when they revoked his citizenship.
4 years ago.
And now he's been taken off the Belmarsh. The fight's on to get him out of jail. Thanks, guys.
I'll take that.
There we go, look at that. I'll eat some more.
Free Julian Assange. Free the truth. Stand up for your human rights and you won't have any. What you see on the TV is the whole.
I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the original inhabitants, owners and custodians of this fine land, and I'd like to acknowledge their elders, the wisdom of their elders, both past, present, and those that are emerging. Thank you very much.
Free Julian Assange did nothing wrong, right? American government trying to screw all of us over. Fuck the American government. Fuck everybody except for Julian Assange.
We're having a birthday party for Julian on Monday, the 3rd of July, outside the UK, the British consulate down at Circular Quay at 11 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's welcome. We're going to have music, we're going to have a cakes. We're going to let the UK consulate know that we're not happy with their brutal incarceration. They have turned their own Westminster legal system on its head. They've held the man now in arbitrary detention in one form or another since 2010. That's 13 years of arbitrary detention of an innocent man under the Westminster legal system, where the presumption of innocence remains until one is brought before a jury to determine whether there is proof of a crime beyond reasonable doubt.
free Assange.
Free Julian Assange! Free the truth!
Welcome to the 188th week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gatherings. By holding the multi-award-winning Australian journalist Julian Assange in prison on behalf of the US, the United Kingdom is demonstrating their lack of sovereignty. The United Kingdom has held Julian in solitary confinement within a maximum security prison now for over 4 years and appears set to extradite him to the US on the excuse that he faces espionage charges for his work as a journalist. The contrived espionage case would be held in the Eastern District of Virginia in the United States. A jury in this US court would comprise the family members, acquaintances, and members and employees of the CIA, the Pentagon, the national security and intelligence contractors. Because Julian's case has been dressed up as relating to national security, he would have no chance of being found innocent. The former CIA officer and whistleblower, John Kirikou, informs us that no national security defendant has ever won a case there. Julian exclaimed, "The UK has no sovereignty," when he was taken from the Ecuadorian embassy in 2019. Julian was pointing out that the UK is not free to make decisions for itself. He also remarked that, quote, "the UK must resist," unquote. It is unfortunate that to this date the UK has not resisted. There are many Assange supporters in the United Kingdom doing incredible work to help free Julian Assange. But the UK government continues to be in lockstep with the government of the United States. The Australian government is also in lockstep with the US. For 12 years, there has been a complete lack of visible diplomatic intervention on Julian's behalf from the Australian government. The current Prime Minister has indicated that he favours a form of diplomacy that cannot be seen or heard or recorded. Freedom of information requests suggest quiet diplomacy means doing nothing to upset the US, making it apparent that Julian's birth nation, Australia, also has no sovereignty. It's time for us to stand on our own 2 feet. It's time for us to demonstrate our individual sovereignty. It's time for us to demonstrate that we can think and speak for ourselves. Julian Assange is a political prisoner. The corruption involved in Julian's persecution must end now. Helping to free Julian Assange will help to stop our descent into a totalitarian state. The greatest journalist of our time needs our help. The truth has been revealed. It is now our time to unite behind Julian and ensure that freedom of speech is not outlawed. Free, free Julian Assange. Free, free Julian Assange. Free, free Julian Assange. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Christian Harrison is the editor of WikiLeaks because Julian Assange has been held in a high security prison in London, and he was interviewed last week and he slammed the High Court refusal to hear Julian's appeal. To me, Julian deserves to have his day in court, and we deserve to hear the evidence in that court. The people behind the prosecution don't want the shame of their wicked acts to see the light of day in a courtroom. Christian reminded us that Julian created a redaction program by crossing out everything not in a dictionary. So that meant that people's names wouldn't appear, they'd be redacted, addresses, they'd be out. It's a magnificent idea from a brilliant man. So when people try and tell you that Julian put people's lives at risk, you have been lied to. He did not. Manning pointed out in her memoir that she didn't just dump information, and the leaks that were unredacted hurt no one. The US had a task force and spent $6 million only to find that no one had been harmed by Manning or WikiLeaks. Also, recently we lost a great man. We lost Daniel Ellsberg. Julian Assange and Ellsberg had a robust friendship for many years, and it's not hard to understand why. They both have a strong sense of justice, humanity and integrity. Daniel Ellsberg brought us the Pentagon Papers, which showed the US had secretly made raids on North Vietnam, had bombed Cambodia and Laos, none of which was reported in the US media at the time. It sowed doubts about the wisdom of the war, and when the public were made aware of the facts, it resulted in the end of the Vietnam War. Like Julian Assange, Ellsberg revealed corruption, crimes and cover-up of the government and its agencies. And like Julian, the powerful were outraged and wanted to smear and discredit the messenger rather than debate and confront the message. Ellsberg was charged with conspiracy, espionage and theft of government property. The charges were dismissed when the CIA and FBI worked together to discredit Daniel, including stealing documents from his psychiatrist's office. We know that the US conducted similar actions against Julian Assange. They spied on Julian, his lawyers, his doctors, and people who were visiting him, like journalists. However, they not only did that, they planned to kidnap and murder him. Ellsberg once said a very large fraction of what is classified will be strongly protected, not because it threatens national security, but because it threatens the job security of bureaucrats and politicians. It includes information that the public needs should it be a sovereign public, because we need information to make decisions on voting and to know what our government is doing. Assange, like Ellsberg, sought to bring the truth to the public. Assange should be freed, and until the Australian government stands up for him loudly and proudly, we are not a sovereign nation. We don't need the bleatings of enough is enough from our Prime Minister. Julian is a hostage of the US government and is being unlawfully detained in Belmarsh prison. He's not been found guilty of any crime. He has committed no crime. He won the Sydney Peace Medal and a Walkley Award for the same work that they want him to die in a US prison for. We need outrage from our government. We need our so-called leaders to stand up and be angry. Albanese stated he is frustrated. He's spoken to his US counterparts and they've ignored him. We don't want quiet diplomacy. We need condemning outrage, demanding that Julian's rights be respected and the charges dropped. Free Julian Assange.